Hello there. Today I'll be explaining how computers use their circuits and like the ports on the side here, what they're for. For those of you that don't know how they work. So this is a lot of yapping, so most of the time I'll just be talking. But well, let's hope you can handle a lot of talking. So, last video I mentioned something about ones and zeros, which is actually what these use to kind of talk to the other parts to tell them what to do. But we'll get into that later in this video. But first, most people should know that this is just a headphone jack or a jack kind of for anything for that size. And then USB port, and HDMI. And I think this looks like an Ethernet cable port or something with that type of connection. And I think this other port is to hook up for, more monitors. I think that's what that's for. And then if we flip around to the other side, it's just another USB. And this is the charging port for this laptop, which laptops will have that. Desktops will just have a giant plug-in because they go into the wall. And this right here, it's not a port, but it's a C or DVD player. You put a DVD or CD in or whatever, and then it goes in and reads in stuff. So that's that. On the bottom is just the battery, which for this case, on this specific laptop, you can take the battery out. And this is just an access panel, but that's for the inside parts, which I explained last video. So that's the ports. Now for how the computers work inside, last video I mentioned about ones and zeros, and it is what computers use so they can kind of display anything, like say on your screen and it has a uppercase A somewhere, then it'll have a certain code of ones and zeros. And why they use ones and zeros is because computers are too dumb to understand anything over a 2 or under a 0, which leaves ones and zeros. And there's actually a chart that says what it is, which is on here. Once it decides to focus, you can kind of see how that works. So for uppercase A, where is that? Right here. So that code would be 1,000,001. That's what uppercase A would be. And where this 65 comes from is if we go out and go over a few pictures, we can see for the uppercase A or anything, those ones and zeros mean something. There's micro transistors, which this is a micro transistor, and where it gets the ones and zeros and how I can tell is like this. You can see if a micro transistor is on, then it'll equal a 1. If it's off, then it's a 0. So you can kind of see that this one is on, off, 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 on, off. And that would equal 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. Which is for the A, and where the 65 comes from is if you look here, how these things go up is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. Which if for the transistors on, you can add the numbers up and then get this number here, which was what was on the other picture. So if you add 64 in one, that's 65, which is right here, and that's what we get in the other picture too. So that's how that part works. And for what a microtransistor is it's basically a little tiny switch, microscopic switch, which if you send a tiny little signal up through the middle of it, I have it right here. So if you send a tiny little signal up through here, then it'll turn on, which will let power through. So that's what microtransistors are. And for another example, for B, if you look here, for B, it's 1,000,010, which last time it was 65, but because it's still in the 64, but then you just add, instead of 1, it would be 2, which 64 plus 2 is 66. So that's how that works. And what that number, I guess you could say language, is called as a binary numbers, which is ones and zeros, which is what I said. And for the binary numbers, here is kind of what it means. For every bit, which is a microtransistor, where the term bit comes from is binary digit, which, as we saw in the other picture, one microtransistor equals one digit. So, like here, every microtransistor equals one digit. Now, for this type of thing, it goes all the way up to 128. But that was only for like 2D type games. When they released 3D games, they needed more numbers, I guess you could say. So what they did was add this many, which is a lot more. So yes, that's just what that is. Now, one last thing for these numbers and the added numbers. For just that 128 all the way up to 128, if you add all of them, then it can go any number from 1 to 255. But as I said just now, they needed more numbers to put in 3D. So now we can go all the way up to 32,000, which that is just one bit. Which this is 1, 2, 4, 6, all the way up to 32,000. That's not even all these added up. For just these added up, that equals 255. But with all these, that would equal a lot more. Anyway, that will be it for today's video, and I may do a part 2 on this. If I'm missing anything, comment down below if I am missing anything, because I feel like it. But I don't know what I'm missing. But yes, I will be posting more computer videos, and if you want to, you can subscribe to see more computer videos. And yeah, have a nice day.